Remember, at the top of the program, I gave you 3 numbers to think about, relevant numbers for the show today: 16, 40, and 2. We're going to be talking about the 16 part right about now on Kababayan, LA, Obama's new immigration reform policy that actually benefits young immigrants. We'll discuss that here sa Ating American Dream.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
The immigration tag team is here. Attorney Allison Aquino with Attorney Richard Lowe. Hello and welcome to Kababayan, LA. Everyone's happy, everyone's hopeful because of the announcement that President Obama made last Friday. We discussed a little bit on Monday with Balita, but basically from immigration lawyers, this is a good thing.
Absolutely, and it's such a good thing that it necessitated Richard and I both coming out here to discuss.
Yes, let us talk about that. What essentially is it? Are you postponing the removal of young immigrants or deferring? What's the correct term?
Well, it's actually exactly what it's called, deferred action, and by deferring means that they could take action, but they're not going to. So this is basically Obama saying we are not going to remove young people who have come to the United States when they were children and send them back to a country they aren't familiar with.
Yes, exactly. We've talked about this before. The sins of the parents who decided to stay here illegally or overstay is not the sin of the kids who had no knowledge, had no stake in that decision making. Allison, what is the eligibility?
Well, one of the main requirements is that that they must have entered the United States before the age of 16.
Okay, that's why 16, very important. Why 16? Is it just,
Well, there has to be some age that's set. And so they're probably factoring in when a person can actually make decisions on their own. Perhaps 16 was a wise decision in order to set just a cutoff age.
So 16 and above, no more. You're not eligible.
Correct.
So 15 and a half, 15 and 11 months.
15 and 394 days, and you are eligible.
Right. Okay. Have continuously resided in the United States for at least 5 years. That is another requirement.
Precisely. So individuals must have been in the United States from June 15, 2007 up until June 15, 2012. And little trips outside of the United States, brief and innocent trips, those do not break continuous presence.
Okay. What about if you've been staying 3 years since, the announcement was made?
Unfortunately, you're not qualified.
Okay. And there are 5 requirements. We're going to be discussing a little bit more later, but do you have to satisfy all the 5 points?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so if you don't, there's...
Well, that's going to be the interesting part. There are some requirements such as graduating from high school or being enlisted in the military or honorably discharged, and the question is whether or not those things can occur afterwards, even though you have the age and continuous presence requirements set out. Can you then enroll and get a GED, for example, after June 15th, 2012?
Yeah.
That we don't know for sure yet.
Because it says here, currently in school or have graduated from high school or have obtained a general education development certificate. What if they dropped out of high school?
And that's the concern or the question. It's uncertain whether a person who did not complete high school and did not obtain a GED before June 15th, whether they can now go back, obtain the GED, and then qualify for the deferred action.
For people that are watching us right now, what would you suggest to them? If they, if they satisfy maybe 2 out of the 3 so far that we've talked about, they still need to consult a lawyer, right?
Absolutely, you need to consult a lawyer. And I would say that if it's a GED or something, there's no harm in going back and getting that GED now, and let's see what the requirements require later. But those kinds of things I think you should just move forward with. But
all right. The 4th requirement, have not been convicted of a felony offense. Let's talk about that because some people don't have an idea. What is a felony? What is a misdemeanor? What are those examples?
What we're talking about with felonies is anything that you can be charged with that will have you in prison for more than 1 year.
And what are those?
There's a lot of crimes that could fit that. So that felony is a fairly wide range. And then they have what they call significant misdemeanors, which those are crimes which you and I may just think are not a problem, but which they are saying will knock you out of eligibility. And most importantly is DUI, which normally we think of in the immigration context as a very innocuous crime. But here they're listing it as something that will prevent you from getting deferred action. That possession of drugs, narcotics, firearms, and the usual fraud, bribery, larceny, violence, domestic violence, these are also considered significant misdemeanors.
All right. In short, be good and be careful. Number 5, not be above the age of 30.
Exactly. And so there is a cutoff age that in order to be eligible, you need to be under the age of 31. And so essentially born on or after June 16, 1981. And then the final requirement is that if there is no final order of removal, that they be at least age 15.
Okay, so once you've satisfied all the 5 points, how will the new directive now be implemented?
Well, that's really the question that we're all waiting to be answered. They've said there's going to be this policy change, and now they have to, and they've given CIS 60 days in which to come up with a procedure with which people can then go forward with applying. So right now there's no application process. You cannot go down to CIS and ask for anything. You should not submit any documents now. They will be rejected. We need to be just a little bit patient here and wait for the final procedures to come out from CIS.
That said, what are you doing? What can you do as lawyers? Because
Exactly.
people are watching. This is hope for them.
And what they should be doing, the main point is that some individuals, unfortunately, are telling people, we can go ahead and file your application right away and move forward with the procedure. That's not possible as of yet. Regardless of that, we do know what the requirements are, just as you pointed out. So we can go ahead and take this next 60 days where immigration is putting together their procedures, and we can at least start putting together what we know are the documents that are going to be needed in order to substantiate those requirements. So we can go ahead and at least start gathering financial records, start gathering school records, gathering the minimal things that we need so that when they eventually do put out the procedures within the next 60 days, at that point in time, we'll have everything ready and we can submit it right away.
And that's very important to note. The biggest takeaway from this conversation, I gather, is that for some people, this is hope, but there's no details yet on how to apply. So for others saying that they can apply for you and they're going to charge you, obviously, for their services, it's not really truthful.
You have to take things with a grain of salt.
All right. Thank you so much. And that's, of course, Attorney Allison Aquino, Attorney Richard Lowe. That's their number on the screen. Like they said, they can help you gather documents as of now while waiting. And I recommend them. You can trust them. They will not take advantage. They will take care of you. They took care of me. They got me my green card. Thank you, and more power to you. We'll be back more in Kababayan, LA. Don't go away.